We've talked a lot about Allgaier on this show over the years. He's been very strong in Xfinity Series competition, is the defending champion of the series. And he was on Kenny Wallace's podcast this week and seemed to suggest that the end might not be too far off for a longtime junior motorsports driver. Take a listen to what he had to say.
But it sounds to me like Jeremy's going to outrun me. I'm going to congratulate him. Then you're going to outrun Jeremy, and Jeremy's going to have to congratulate you. What do you think?
I think Jeremy's got this one in the bag, to be honest. I'm super proud of how many starts I have. I don't know what the number is currently. I think
482. You have 482 starts.
Yeah, I can't get there. I can't get to your number. Not with where my head's at and what I believe is my.
We're going to talk about this. Keep going. Racing. Why did you say you don't think you're going to break my record?
I've watched my dad grow this business for my entire life, and there were opportunities for him to sell, and there were opportunities for him to get out. And, he's asked me point blank years ago, he said, is this something you see yourself doing? Is this something you want to do? And it's always been 100% yes.
All right, Mike Allgaier, his father, was part of that interview as well, Justin, talking about maybe going to work for his family business. And for reference, Kenny Wallace at 547 career starts. Allgaier would be on pace to break that record in 2027, unless Jeremy Clements does it first in 2026. Brandon, I'll start with you here. Justin Allgaier's an Xfinity Series champion, 28 wins. He needs 3 victories and another title to reach the mark that Jack Ingram set. Jack Ingram is in the Hall of Fame. We've had this conversation before, but I'll ask the question again. Do you see Justin Allgaier as a future Hall of Famer?
Absolutely. I don't need to have much hesitation to say that. And the fact that he only needs 3 more wins and 1 more title to tie Jack Ingram, who's already in the Hall of Fame, that's the kind of question. That's one of those things I struggled with so badly, was like having the lack of brain power, I guess, to figure out what I need to ask. What could I possibly ask? Well, there's a great question right there that could have been asked, and I don't think anyone even mentioned the name Jack Ingram. But man, he was such a joy there post race, and it just seems like someone like he was like the most pleasant of them all, really. Second to Raja, which we'll get to later, but just really one of the most pleasant of them all to have in there and talking about his win and talk so much about his family. And that's why he's a Saturday guy, I think, mainly, is he wants that time with his 2 daughters and his wife, and he's got that foundation built, and he doesn't need too much more to be considered for the Hall of Fame as it stands. But that championship title, we've talked about it before on this show. That's one of those things that was lacking. He's got that now. Anything more is just making it more impressive, and he only needs a few more to tie a Jack Ingram.
Yeah, just to kind of pick up where Brandon left off, I also agree that, in my personal opinion, I think that Justin Allgaier should absolutely be a Hall of Famer one of these days. Him not being able to make up the amount of starts leads me to believe that the soon-to-be 39-year-old is about to retire at some point here in the near future. So that second title might be a little bit harder to come by, but I think that in the movement to make the Xfinity Series kind of seem like the, second series as the, part of the ladder for NASCAR, that we kind of lose track of the accomplishments that drivers like Justin Allgaier have kind of put together through building their career there. And I feel like when you see the fact that he's won, I think 28 races on top of his championship since he, kind of revitalized his career by going to junior motorsports in 2016. I really just don't think that we as like a collective media have really done a whole lot to kind of celebrate that. And I find that to be profoundly unfortunate. I think that Allgaier has shown speed at practically any kind of track. It seems like he really knows how to make a car go fast as long as you are really willing to work with him on the mechanical level to get the car up to speed. And him and Jim Pullman together are a dynamic duo at this point. So, yeah, I think that Allgaier absolutely deserves a seat in Charlotte one of these days where he can get his jacket and give his speech. I just hope that by that time we'll have had a bit more of a collective celebration for more of the lifers that currently exist in the Xfinity and Truck Series, because I really just don't think they really get enough credit.
All right, let's get caught up on the. Sorry, just does somebody want to follow up?
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay, that might have been.
I think that was a dog. That was a dog. Yeah. The dog would like a word.
We're all good then. Let's get caught up on the chat real quick. Adam Lemery's saying, "Good evening, gentlemen. Enjoyed all the content from Nashville. Brandon, which driver was cool to interview?" I think Brandon, you said it. I think in your answer, I think you said Allgaier was.
Well, I never actually got to. I never gave a question to Allgaier. I guess I couldn't think of one that wasn't already brought up. That was kind of the case for me this weekend, being so green to the media center. But the coolest one to interview. I mean, the only one I actually talked to that was a race winner was Raja Karuth, and I just asked him about, would you be able to take your experience from being in the playoffs in 2024, now that you know that you have another shot at it this year, is there anything that you would do that you think you and the team are going to do differently? And he was basically like, well, no, not too much. I have six notebooks of notes, or basically is what that amounted to. Like we've got a process, and I trust in it. So that was probably the most impactful one. And also asking Daniel Suarez about any extra Tootsie's festivities going on. He was like, if we win the race, we're going to Tootsie's. And that was it. So.
All right, there you go. And I am so glad Matthew Owens is in the chat right now. Behind the mic is Justin Hall of Fame or Hall of Very Good? That was a question that was raised. I think Jeff Brown was the one that replied to my tweet about that. I guess it depends on how you define Hall of Famer and where you think that threshold should be. But like I said, I think if Jack Ingram is in, Allgaier's stats seem to be backing it up. He seems to be getting very close to that mark that has been set. And if you want more thoughts that I have on the Hall of Fame and where that mark should be at, you can go check out the recent podcast episode that I did with Brock Beard here. I think that was Tanner says that was his dog, and he's got to go check on his dog here. So we'll give him just a moment. But Brandon, I don't know if you have any thoughts on the question that Matthew has posted here. And then Matthew, I'm glad you're in the chat, because one of your tweets this weekend, I think, sparked an interesting conversation as well. We're about to get to that in just a moment. But Brandon, first, you want to follow up on this?
I feel like it's a Hall of Fame. Sorry, Matthew. I think I have to stand by what I had already said there. Not only that, but what we're about to get to, I think, also adds to it as well. Like, he's a really lovable guy by a majority of the fan base. It's hard to have a bone to pick with Justin Allgaier. I think that it's not an on-track thing, but it definitely has to be taken into consideration somewhere in there by the Hall of Fame panel when they decide who makes it into these things. Is how well were you received with the fans? What did you do off the track that made you, that gave you legendary status? If you take my meeting there, what kind of impact did you make as a personality, and how did the fans feel about you?
Yeah, and I think it's impossible to tell the story in full of the Xfinity Series without Justin Allgaier and Jack Ingram as well, to be fair. And so I think you take all of that into consideration. Obviously, stats are a big part of it, but I think he's got those too. So I think, and again, like I always say, it's not the Cup Hall of Fame. If it were the Cup Hall of Fame, the guy did 2 seasons with H. Scott Motorsports and a couple of one-offs here and there since then, and that's pretty much it. But thankfully, it's not the Cup Hall of Fame. It's the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I do think, to Tanner's point that he was making as well, we do need some representation from those lower levels in the Hall of Fame. And I know Allgaier, obviously, we'll see with this interview that he just gave, kind of taking me by surprise here. I thought he had at least 3 to 5 more years. He's saying he might not even have 2 if he's not even going to do 60 or so more starts. I guess 65, if the math off the top of my head is right, to pass Kenny Wallace as the all-time leader again. Of course, Jeremy Clements is on that trajectory as well. We'll see how long it takes him to get there. But we'll keep our eye on that. That's going to be something interesting to monitor here. Maybe if he wins a second championship this year and goes back to back, he might just make that the ultimate mic drop and decide to walk away there. But to Tanner's point as well, these are 3 wins here in the first 14 races of the season. Saw some people talking this weekend. This might be the best version of Justin Allgaier that we've ever seen. So if he can continue, much like we were talking about with Team Penske, riding this momentum all the way through to the end of the year, I think he's got a very good shot at going back to back and winning that second championship.